Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, me, Aiman bin Zulfekar, along with my friends Muhammed Muaaz bin Abdul Ghani, Syahidah Binti Shuhaimi, Alyaa Zafirah binti Khalil, and Nurliyana binti Sofian are going to present our research regarding fraudulent case which are Barings banks. First and foremost, Alhamdulillah, and we want to thank God for finally allowing us to finish our work that was instructed to us. This task was completed with all available resources by our group members. Apart from that, we also want to express our gratitude towards our generous lecturer, Sir Zafirah, because our project would not have been completed as successfully without his guidance. Finally, we want to thank our dear friends for always sticking together hard to deliver a fantastic project. So, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, to get started, I am going to talk a little bit background regarding Barings Bank. Barings Bank was a British merchant bank that collapsed in 1995 after one of its traders, 20-year-old Nick Leeson, operating in its Singapore office, lost 1.3 billion in unauthorized trades. We can see here Barings Bank and Nick Leeson. Barings was one of the England's oldest merchant banks, and at one point even Queen Elizabeth II, quite old, had an account with it. Further details regarding this matter will be discussed and explained by another presenter later in the presentation. So, our agenda today is to show and explain regarding accounting fraud and the tone of the talk. Next is about the fraud that happened in Barings banks. From that, we will explain the three elements of fraud, which is pressures, opportunities, and rationalizing of those perpetrating the fraud. Finally, we are gonna see the consequences of the fraud that happened in Barings Bank.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Syahidah from Group 6. First, I'm going to explain what is accounting fraud. Accounting fraud is unauthorized manipulations of company financial statements to deceive investor or to conceal earnings or losses. Accounting fraud may happen for a number of reasons, like to acquire financing from a bank, to report unrealized profits, to inflate the share price, to hide losses, to look more successful than you are, to attract customer, to obtain a performance-based bonus, or to conceal thief. Next, I'm going to explain the tones of the tops and describe tone at the top of Barings Bank. In auditing, the term tone at the top is used in auditing to describe the leaderships of a company's management and boards of directors, as well as their determinations of being honest and ethical. It asserts that individuals at the top of the company should be honest, have integrity, and promote an ethical business culture. When a company's top management behave this way, mid-level managers and employees below them are more inclined to follow their examples. A corporation with a negative tone is more likely to engage in unethical behavior, participate in fraudulent activity, and fail to maintain internal controls. The frauds of Barings Bank possible in the first place because top management to ensure sufficient segregations of duties across distinct Singapore business operation, jeopardizing the effectiveness of any control placed in place. If you see, Nick Leeson's engaged in questionable trading, accounting practice from the start to conceal losses he was accumulating. The second one is because the management, Nick Leeson's, on the other hand, failed to take corrective action, which only helped to compound the discovered weakness. Top management was notified that the control of the both front and back office constitute an inappropriate concentrations of authority, noting a considerable danger of control override. Leeson's oversaw the dealing desk and had control of the back office activity as well. The third one is failed to provide an insights into importance of effectively managing the risk posed by the operations of a bank. It was noted that senior management's response to recommendations of placing a suitable experienced person to run the back office was that there was not sufficient work for a full-time treasury and risk manager, even if compliance duties were incorporated in the functions. All that mentions are the factors provides evidence that failure to implement effective internal control and risk management does have catastrophic implications for an organization. The Barings lesson crisis began because senior management of bank, including lessons immediate supervisor, the bank's management committee and the boards of directors, failed to place their roles and fulfill their responsibilities.
My name is Nurliyana Binti Sofian. I will tell you what happened to Barings Bank, the background of the fraud case, how the fraud perpetrated and concealed, and lastly, who is the whistleblower. So what happened to Barings Bank? Before its demise in 1995, Barings was the UK's oldest merchant bank, having been founded in 1762. Nicholas William Leeson, popularly known as Nick Leeson, a derivatives trader and general manager at Barings Singapore branch, took down the 233-year-old bank on his own. Leeson departed Singapore after amassing a debt of 1.4 billion Singapore dollar at the bank, mostly through futures trading contracts. The bank had accrued losses of 2.2 billion by the time it collapsed on February 26, 1995. In Singapore, Leeson was sentenced to 6.5 years jail for 2 counts of fraud and forgery. As a result of the occurrence, Singapore's futures trading was amended, and efforts to enhance the regulatory environment for futures trading were implemented. On September 17, 1986, Barings Futures was established in Singapore. In July 1989, Leeson began working as a clerk in the settlement department of Barings Securities in London, an investment subsidiary of the Barings Group. 3 years later, he was sent to Singapore. Leeson joined Barings Securities in Singapore in 1992 in April as a derivatives operation manager. In June of that year, he passed the Institute of Banking and Finance Future Trading test and became a trader. He was one of 2 dealers at BFS when it began trading on the Singapore International Monetary Exchange in July 1992. He set up an error account for BFS 5-digit 8 account on July 3rd. The account was originally created to report BFS novice staff incorrect trades. Leeson, on the other hand, utilized the account for his unauthorized trading. The losses in the 5-digit 8 account totaled 8.8 million by the end of September 1992. How the fraud perpetrated and concealed. On June 28, 1993, Leeson was named Assistant Director and General Manager of BFS. He oversaw the front office, which handled trading, as well as the rear office, which handled paperwork. Using the 5-digit 8 accounts, he was able to conceal his losses and unlawful trading. Leeson began trading Japanese government bonds in 1994, as well as Nikkei 225 futures and options. Between July 19 and August 1, 1994, BFS was subjected to an internal audit. The audit report, which was sent to top management of Barings in London, found that BFS was exposed to significant risk because of Leeson's handling of both the trading and settlement activities. The bank, on the other hand, decided to keep Leeson's job due to his experience and profitability. They had no idea that Leeson had already suffered significant losses, which were hidden in the 5-digit accounts at the time. The losses had increased to 373.9 million by the end of December 1994. A senior auditor discovered a mismatch in the BFS account in January 1995 by creating a tale about a trade transaction between Barings and US investment companies Spear, Lace and Kellogg's. Leeson was able to persuade the auditors. To back up his claim, he submitted a doctored payment statement. CEMEX notified Barings to its huge amount of Nikkei futures and option trading in the same month, but the bank's top management persuaded CEMEX that Barings had adequate assets to support the deals, preventing CEMEX from suspending BFS from trading. Despite the 5-digit 8 accounts' massive losses, Leeson continued to wager aggressively on the Nikkei index in January 1995, expecting that it would not go below 19,000 points. However, after an earthquake struck Kobe, Japan on January 17, the Nikkei plummeted. He proceeded to boost the stake when the Nikkei 225 fell to 17,785 points on January 23rd, in the hopes that the market would recover. Losses totaled 1.4 billion when the market plummeted to a new low of 17,580 on February 23rd. Who is the whistleblower? A senior settlement clerk on secondment from the Barings main office in London noticed a mismatch in Leeson's account on February 23, 1995. Leeson claimed he had to see his wife in the hospital and left the workplace, but he could not obtain an explanation from him. Leeson and his wife escaped to Kuala Lumpur on the night of February 23rd, knowing that they would not be able to recoup their losses. A Attempts to contact Ellison were unsuccessful on many occasions. The incident was reported to the London Barings office, which reviewed its accounts for unauthorized activities. Its immediate concern was that Ellison had embezzled funds and vanished. BFS authorities discovered the 5-digit ad accounts on February 24th and related the discrepancy to it. Barings in London was put into administration on February 26, 1995, due to a lack of adequate capital to continue business. Bank of England sought but failed to save the bank. At the time of Barings bankruptcy on February 26, the total losses were 2.2 billion Singapore dollar.
Next, me, Nurliyana, Zafirah, Binti Khalil will be present the pressures, opportunities, and rationalization of disputing the fraud. To fight fraud, one must not only realize that it occurs but also how and why it occurs. Essentially, pressures, opportunities, and rationalization is the three elements of the fraud triangle. For fraud to occur, all three elements must be present. Firstly, pressure. Pressure in this case is another way of saying motivation. What is it in one's life that drives one to commit fraud? Pressure sometimes involves personal situations that create a demand for more money. Such situations might include vices like drug use or gambling, or merely life events like suppose losing a job. In this case, to make up for losses from failed deals, Nick is a risk on future trading, which was the spark that started it all. Nick was given orders by Barings Bank to report all incorrect trade to the London head via the 99905 account. Ellison, on the other hand, established the 8888 error account to cover his mistakes. This error account was first used as a holding account for any premiums or losses Ellison incurred. Initially, Ellison just used this error account to conceal a mistake made by a staff member who sold $20,000 contracts that were not acquired in the manner specified by the customer, but he was still able to collect the commission. He then continued to deposit a slew of losses into the account while also raising his trading value and risk level. Next is opportunity. The term opportunity refers to the conditions that make fraud possible. Due to a variety of factors, Ellison was able to remain undetected. Professional skepticism is lacking. Ellison was a skilled deceiver to avoid risk from management, auditors, and even senior officials. He altered documents, forged letters, and cooked up intricate details. The auditors did not truly examine the evidence. They are willing to accept documents that have been proved to be fixed. Aside from that, there is a general lack of knowledge about the industry. If Barings auditors and top management had a better understanding of the trading sector, they would have seen that Ellison could not have produced the gains he claimed without taking on any risk, and they would have questioned where the money come from. Lastly is rationalization. This is a cognitive stage in which the fraudster must be able to rationalize the crime in a way that his internal moral compass accepts. External circumstances such as dishonest employer are sometimes used to justify criminal behavior by reducing or mitigating the harm caused by the action. In Barings Bank case, Ellison does not consider himself to be a criminal. He believes he is entitled to the money since he worked hard for it, but in a wrong way. He fears that unless he commits fraud, he will lose his job. A fake journal entry may be changed as a timing difference that will be cancelled out in the following accounting period, or cash theft could be renamed as a temporary loan that will be reimbursed. That's all from me.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad bin Abdul Ghani. So today I want to continue about my part, which is consequences, effect and penalty. We divide into 5 sections, which is auditor companies, management, shareholder and any relevant parties. So firstly, auditors. Corpus and Life Bank is one of auditors in Barings Bank has paid up £65 million in settlement for its role in the Barings Bank affair. The amount of settlement negotiated in late 2001 was revealed in Justice Evan Lom's decision in the lawsuit between Barings and Deloitte and Tyson. So Corpus and Life Bank were also punished by the joint disciplinary scheme, which determined that the firm believed that lesson activities posed little or no risk to the Barings Group, but yield variable good returns, was implausible and demonstrated a degree of ignorance of market reality that totally lacks credibility. Secondly, the company. So the company is bankrupt. The total losses sustained by BFS on illicit trading amounted to £927 million. Next, management. From this case, 31 top executives are fired for Barings by its new owner. The only high-ranking official in the line of accountability, Chairman Peter Barings and Vice Chairman Andrew Turkey, resigned in March after INT placed is on management. Next, shareholder. Due to Barings Bank losses, which could not recover from the $1.6 billion in losses lesser incurred, Barings was sold to the Dutch investment firm ING for the nominal amount of £1, and shareholders were left holding the bags from the consequences made by legislation. So share of this bank are declining, therefore owners are selling their holdings. Lastly, despite this instance, the crisis had no budgetary impact on Syahidah and other Singapore financial institutions. To avoid a repeat of this occurrence, the Future Trading Act was amended to allow the Monetary Authority of Singapore to oversee the activity of legal selling future contracts more carefully. It also required traders in Singapore to be licensed. The Future Trading Amended Act went to effect on April 1st, 1995. The Singapore government also took steps to tighten the regulatory environment for future trading on Siemens, as well as its financial stability.
Thank you, Muaaz, for your splendid explanation. So, based on what we explained earlier, we have seen how fraud caused by negligence contribute to the demise of Barings Bank. So, in our opinion, the collapse of Barings Bank is a little bit good example in the human history. This shows how fraud, even by a single person, can bring uncoverable consequences, which in this case, as a result from negligence committing fraud, it resulted the demise of a financial firm which stands 230 years of existence. If we take a different view rather than the initial and popular reaction to the collapse, the Barings experience shows more about the difficulties that can happen if a company does not take care of its risk management systems, processes and accounting procedures. So innovation like this does about the problems with banks' use of derivatives. The incident also highlight the issues that might develop when senior bank employees engage in misleading behavior or commit fraud. So, wisdom we can take today is fraud was never an option. Okay, fraud has a far-reaching consequences that go beyond monetary loss. Fraud impact on individuals, businesses, organizations, services and even the environment. To relate in the Barings Bank case, the shareholder is held responsible for the loss of the bank, and the management that work at Barings Bank are fired after the fraud event. Entities can make better judgment if they understand the whole impact of fraud. Any fraud, whether perpetrated by opportunistic individuals or major and organized crime groups, can have catastrophic consequences. Therefore, it is vital that small businesses take steps to deter fraud such as segregation of duties, maintaining internal control, and audit books regularly to detect it as soon as possible. And that's all from us. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.